Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special live conference edition of Admissions Live. Today is Monday, October 5th, I believe. I'm in outer space today. Today is Monday, October 5th, and my name is Chris Dorso, and I am very, very happy to be here in Milwaukee at the Wisconsin Center in downtown Milwaukee for the annual Higher Education Web Professionals Conference. And I am happy to have a bunch of guests with me here live. If you saw this show last year, some of them may be familiar. If you live on the internet like any of us do, all of them will probably be familiar. So quick shout out to, of course, M. Stoner and the folks there for all of their continued support, and all our friends at Chegg for their continued support last week at NACAC. They helped all of my friends and colleagues at admissions offices around the country ship their swag back to their offices. So giant orange boxes of stuff will be arriving in admissions offices around the country starting today and tomorrow. And so very, very thankful to them for all of the support that they provide to us over the years. And with that, welcome everybody. So we are eagerly awaiting the arrival of Bill Nye, not to the show, unfortunately, but to the conference. He will be here as our keynote speaker. So we will be going until 1:30 or so, 2:30 or so this afternoon. But I'd like to introduce my co-panelists today, Ron Bronson from Bravery Media, Emma Dates from Nazareth College, and Rebecca Stapley. The crew here is a great mix of folks. Ron is a sponsor of the conference. Emma is a first-timer here at the conference this year. Rebecca was on the show live with us last year. Ron was our not here, but here virtually on the show last year. So very exciting. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So it's been half a day so far, and one of the things that they tell us here at HighEdWeb is to get your golden nugget. So no pressure. You've been to 4 sessions, and I'm sure you've been out there and seeing things. What big piece have you seen in the first 4 hours of HighEdWeb? Well, I suppose yesterday counts too. First 4 hours of HighEdWeb. Emma, I'm putting you on the spot as the new person.
Yeah. So we've done 4 sessions now. And one of them particularly was talking about, the session was titled, "Your Email is Bad and You Should Feel Bad About It," basically, which is obviously a hilarious title. But it was really interesting to dive further into numbers and see that, every college is kind of doing the same thing, and that we really need to diversify how we're emailing to students, whether they be current or prospective or alums or community members in general. And there's a lot of data to back up that claim that it just needs to go in a different direction. So I say that was a big takeaway from this morning for me.
Cool. Very nice. Rebecca, same question.
I think for me, the takeaway has been a theme. I've worked with students as part of kind of my what I do in the office for a long time and work with our student bloggers. And it's nice to see the shift, not only just to ways that we can work with students better in our offices for our goals, but how can we serve the students and how can we really empower them more, especially for life after graduation. And the collaboration here, the conferences centered around this and the sharing of ideas around that has been really exciting. Yeah, and it's just amazing how, even the presenter from one of the sessions this morning, we talked and said, hey, I work with students too. And, she said, let me share my documents with you. And hey, can I pick your brain about this? And that kind of spirit of collaboration is awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the real great things about this conference that I found. This is now my 3rd HighEdWeb, and it's a very collaborative environment here. And higher ed is funny, and we've talked about this on the on Admissions Live before about we compete in certain parameters among ourselves as schools, but there's an enormous camaraderie here and sharing of ideas and the things that we do and how we can all very much benefit each other. I think we've been in a lot of the same sessions this morning, so I've done a lot of the student-centered stuff as well, which has been great. There is a vibrant back channel, of course, here at HighEdWeb, and if you have the opportunity to spend several hours in front of a phone or some other Twitter-enabled device, please do follow the hashtag all week, HEWEB15, HEWeb15. Lots of fantastic information that really runs the gamut from across Is it Bill Nye? Is Bill Nye here?
Phil.
Oh, Bill Nye's not here. Of course. Crossing my fingers that he's just going to show up. You never know. It's live. It's live. That just happens. It happens with live internet television. So, Ron, talk about your impressions of the first day or so of HighEdWeb 15.
Well, so I've been here in every form and fashion you can be. I've been
That's
an attendee of the conference. I've been a speaker, of course, presenter, member, and now coming here with a company. It's very different because you spend a lot of time in the vendor hall. But what's been neat so far in seeing is there are a lot of people. I missed this conference 2 years ago, so coming back, it's bigger. But it's also a lot of people from different places. And so, and before you kind of had a general sense of who was here and, from the East Coast and then some folks on the West Coast. This year, there's a lot of people from other countries.
Yeah, I've noticed
two presentations yesterday doing pre-conference sessions. And it was someone in my session from Sri Lanka. And we talked about him flying here, all these areas. Today, I said I had lunch before we came here, talk to you all. To talk about someone from Great Britain. So I think that kind of reach, not reach that I think any of us expected as members to have happen. We don't market that way, but it goes to show kind of when you have good ideas and you're sharing information and folks are working industry, that they want to be part of that. And so that's been really, really cool to see and been really fun to interact with those folks.
Yeah, I want to talk to the sponsor room for a minute because there's a wealth of ideas going on there, and we've got, I don't know how many, there's probably 30 or there's a bunch of well over 20, it's got to be 20 or 30 sponsors in there who support this organization, some of whom have supported it for many, many years. And there's always a challenge. I would think particularly for a first timer to walk into that sponsor room and sort of that intimidation factor of, oh, I'm going to get sold at a conference, and the I'm not the decision maker versus I want to get ideas kind of thing. How do you, sitting on the other side of that table, help folks who are new to their conference experience sort of get over that maybe fear of walking up to a table where you don't know?
We have candy at our table, so if you like candy, you're probably going to be in really good shape.
Okay, I'll be right back. Hang on a second. Oh, right, no, not now. Sorry.
It's not going to be a great situation for you. What I say is again, and I found this again being in that situation, being the attendee and now being on the other side of it, that people have ideas and they know things that you don't know, and they have a lot of exposure. We have a lot of exposure to people across the map. From you work at one campus, work at lots of campuses, you work with a few students, work with lots of students in some cases, and so being able to pick your brain and say, hey, we have this problem. And I know I found that a lot going talking to vendors, and now being on the other side of it, saying, hey, asking leading questions about what are you guys doing? How's your school? What are your issues? And so I think as a first timer, being able to not feel like you're being sold, almost feeling empowered, being able to walk in a room and being like, all these folks here are here to help me.
Right. Yes.
And because you really do. I don't know that has ever been a conference that I go to at a vendor room where you don't find at least one person in there who you learn something from or is helpful to you. Because again, at the end of the day, if we're not being helpful as vendors, if you're not being helpful or being useful, you're not going to be in business very long. So we're there to provide value. And so you definitely can learn a lot. And so definitely encourage people to go in there and talk to folks and find out what they can do for help you and your students.
That's a really good point. And it was at this conference 2 years ago that I walked up to a sponsor table, completely blind, and discovered that we were a client of the sponsor, and they knew me before I even knew them, and I had no idea. And so, especially someone like myself who's on the social side as opposed to the web development side. And so it was a content management thing where we were not doing content. I was not doing content management stuff, but being able to have that, thanks, Mel, to be able to have that sort of connection made life a lot easier. Same thing with the person who, the company that does our WordPress stuff, was here last year. I had no idea until I walked up to the table and I said, oh, I use your product, and I had no idea I used your product. And to really get that sort of, that exchange of ideas is important. So what, flipping sort of for the looking forward perspective. So what sorts of things are you looking forward to over the course of the next 2 days or so?
Other than Bill Nye.
Yes, other than Bill Nye, which is fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Bill Nye, I think, I'm sorry. I just have to say, I watched him in science class from like elementary age all the way up through probably even high school. And knowing that he was coming to the conference, I started watching him on Netflix because I just put him on Netflix, just saying. All of them, just saying. So
This is not a Bill Nye commercial by any means, but it's a Bill Nye
New
commercial.
sponsor.
Right.
Yeah, you know. But I'm also really looking forward to hearing Scott Stratton speak. I think he has a very different way of looking at marketing. Obviously, most people would probably agree, but he has a very different way of looking at marketing that I think more schools should adopt, more higher education institutes should adopt. A lot of companies and businesses have already kind of started turning that way, as looking at it less as marketing and more as, okay, what's our consumer really interested in? How can we dig into that?
Mhm.
And that higher ed could really take that turn, and it would be a really interesting kind of departure from what has been the traditional way of reaching out to students.
Yeah, it's that real balance, but that, you know, the whole higher ed is a business, higher ed is not
Yep.
a business thing, and
Yep.
finding that where you fit on that
Absolutely.
spectrum. Rebecca, what do you think? Next day and a half or two?
It's really interesting to see kind of topics in marketing that we're all kind of curious about in talking about things like storytelling, unmarketing, you know, authentic voices, but seeing how different schools are actually implementing that and how it's working. I think what's so unique and kind of being from more of the social side too is, you know, this idea of everything as a channel, and, you know, how are people using that? How are schools using that, and even leveraging students? So it's just been amazing to see what is working, what isn't, you know, in just the many different ways that, you know, schools are doing new things in this area.
Cool. Ron?
Looking forward to speaking again, because that's all I do here, apparently. Tomorrow, talking about social media and sort of future of social media in higher ed, but taking a different approach instead of not an institution, looking more at best practice and it's me, so not really best practice. Instead, looking at the way trends are working and what people are doing with things like Periscope, which I got into really early and spent a lot of time with, and talking about kind of, you know, what works and what isn't working, and just sort of riffing off of that and finding out what folks are thinking about, and kind of, hey, I'm having this challenge. So I think it should be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that and meeting more folks.
Cool. Myself, looking forward to all of those things and more. There's so much content-wise. I tweeted the other day that I feel like in every session block, there are at least 2 or 3 of the 6 sessions are ones that I absolutely want to go to. And for folks who are participating along at home, you absolutely have the ability to do that here, even though you are not here. As I'm sitting in workshops with my tweet deck up in front of me, I am not only just interacting and tweeting with the presenter who's on the podium in front of me, but I'm sort of following 2 other tracks at the same time, and I'm retweeting what's going on over here, and all of that. And things that are happening back on campus are still influencing what we're doing here. One of my sessions that I sat in this morning was about building a web team on campus, from Rachel Carden from Alabama, and their great web team that they have. And I tweeted at the start of the session, really looking forward to learning about web teams. And not 5 minutes later, I got a tweet from the guy who coordinates our web team on campus that I had no idea existed, and was like, hey, I'll add you to our web team. Okay, my work is done here then. So a conference like this, where it's so very vibrant and interactive, you know, you really need to put yourself out there and be vocal and be visible and introduce yourself to people. And that goes really for any conference, but I think you really see that here in a really interesting way, more so than other conferences I've been to. I've been on the admissions side of the house for so long, going to admissions conferences, and HighEdWeb is such a different feel, not necessarily in a, oh, admissions conferences are bad kind of way for all of our admissions viewers, but it's a very different feel here. And I think that's it's interesting. You've been on the admissions side too, yes?
Yes. So I've done NACAC, done some of the other admissions conferences, and it's just a very different feel. And I think you're right, especially in the first day, there's just kind of taking that energy and that kind of first day of camp feeling where everyone is like excited to meet everyone. And, you know, maybe you come knowing some people, but there's just such a feeling of really wanting to get to know all the different creative minds that are represented here and having that opportunity to talk and sit down. So yeah, I'm also excited for the social events coming up, just, you know, on top of all the sessions. I think that's a great time.
A very good point. Yes, the social piece. For those of you who are here in Milwaukee, we will be at the Miller Time Pub this evening for our big social event. And that will be at 7 o'clock, I believe. I'm seeing nods, 8 o'clock. It'll be at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Sorry, we East Coast folks, we get very, very messed up on the time things. That's why I'm starting this at 2 o'clock today. It's fine. It's all good. So the event will be at the Miller Time Pub this evening, and that is again an opportunity to really get to know folks beyond the white tables here and beyond the screens. And that is, of course, sponsored by our friends at M Stoner and Higher Ed Live. And so if it's a Higher Ed Live event, you know it's going to be a good time. And I was going to bring a little hanger tag. We're giving out hanger door tags for everybody. Do we have one? Do we have a hanger tag float? No, we didn't bring a hanger tag. So you'll have the opportunity to meet all of us in person because we'll all be there. And oh, wait, hang on, a note from our producer. Are we up on time? Is that one? No. Okay, we're not up on time. So let's see. So I want to. Oh, that's right. Of course. So I want to mention that you can participate in HighEdWeb from home as well. And so one of the new things that we're doing through Higher Ed Live is we're talking about unicorns, those folks who are really central to your professional lives. And I'm going to put you guys on the spot in a second, so be ready. Who are central to your lives, your professional lives. And we're going to ask you to tell the world about that person who has inspired you professionally, a mentor, an advisor, a supervisor, a manager, a friend, a colleague, whatever. And I want you to use the hashtag Who's Your Unicorn. And we will pick a winner from home at random to win a copy of M Stoner's ebook, Social Works, which contains 25 case studies on how social media can impact recruitment and on the fundraising end. And if you have not had a chance to flip through that book, it's fantastic. Some of the folks who have pieces in that book are folks I've known for a long time. And there are great stories in there about different campaigns and different events and how things happen. And again, it speaks to the collaborative spirit and learning from each other about how we do this. And so Who's Your Unicorn? Hashtag it, get it to us, and we will pick a winner or maybe multiple winners. We'll see how things go.
Can there be multiple unicorns?
You can have as many unicorns as you want. That's the great thing about unicorns is that they're technically imaginary. So, so you are all my unicorns for today. And maybe your unicorn is Bill Nye, which is fine. That works. That's fine. All right. So now I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. So no pressure. Who's your unicorn? Go.
All right. Well, I guess for me, Liz Zapata, who is director of our marketing department, she's been a total inspirational unicorn for me. I think, especially being someone who really started in missions with no kind of marketing social experience, just someone who opened that door to me and showed me that especially now you can educate yourself. And if you have an interest or a passion, just run with it. And, you know, you really can be empowered. And she inspires me, as does, you know, the team over there, which is great.
Cool.
Liz is also one of my unicorns. But I was going to do a special shout out to Nicole.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I hope she's
watching. And
I'm sure
she's
she
in
is.
Colorado. So she's like on a whole nother time zone also. But she really inspires me every day. She's always bringing so much positivity to everything she does. And just the way she embodies the spirit of not only Champlain where she works, but also just being so happy and spirited about everything she does, and on Admissions Live as well.
And I want to put a little boost out for Nicole, who has not been on the show because she's been traveling, as admission folks do this time of year. And so we've had guest hosts. We'll have another guest host later this month for her, but you'll see Nicole back again in November when she returns home and is back to the office and getting ready for the joys of reading season. As we all know, in admissions land, there is no joy like the joy of reading season. All right, Ron, who has inspired you?
this unfortunately the show isn't long enough for that.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of professional higher ed things, I actually told this yesterday during a talk. Also, I love Liz too. She's great. But at any rate, I was like, oh, she's so nice.
We all love Liz.
But at any rate, my first boss in higher ed, when I first started in higher education, I was a little bit older, and I because I'd been in the military prior to college. And at any rate, my first boss, they hired me. I was a webmaster at the school in Wyoming, and just they gave me the space to really. It was Lisa Murphy. She stole her name. Was really just not just inspirational, but just like empowered me to find my best self. And not always in a way where you some bosses, they empower you and you do really good work and it's great. Sometimes you mess up, especially when you're starting off. Like, oh, we all mess up. But starting off in your career, you don't know certain things, or you're trying to figure it out. You have the confidence to know things, and I was just put in positions to be successful. And it really did shape my career. I told folks yesterday, I'm like, without my career starting where it did, how it did, I wouldn't be here. I'm like, and that's powerful to be sitting in front of an audience and tell them this one thing hadn't happened, this sequence of events didn't happen, I wouldn't be there. And so been lots of other fantastic mentors and bosses along the way, and folks who've been taking me under their wing, or who will say a kind thing, or help guide me in it. So I'm grateful to all of them, because you really can't do it alone. And this is why this network is really great too, right? Because you can, if you're somewhere far away and you work in an office somewhere distant or something like that, having the environment to be able to talk to folks and engage with them and find out what they're doing and know you're not completely alone has been really awesome. So.
Yeah. I think that knowing you're not alone thing is sort of an interesting undercurrent that runs through a lot of the things that we do.
Of course.
And we talk about, currently if anybody saw the news from last night about the alleged threats in the Philly area, the schools today, and all this kind of stuff. And I can imagine the tension that's going through all of the Philadelphia area colleges and universities now that they're dealing with, and to know that there is a supportive web community here. When the incident in Oregon last week, there was a great discussion on our end about how can we help the folks there from a communications perspective, and so we're really trying to reach out and to be part of the greater higher education community. It's not. We're so much bigger than that, and it's imposing because there are how many thousands of colleges and universities across the country, and we can't be everywhere. But it's a great community of folks here. My unicorn is Sue Spring, who was my first advisor in college. Who again, one of the things where somebody who put you in a spot where you did things you didn't realize you could do, and not only did she set me up to succeed and do great things, she was also not afraid to put me in a spot where I would just completely fall flat on my face. And the learning experience of what that is when you kind of go in with your tail between your legs the next day. Hey, I messed up. And as a student, you can kind of get away with that. And it's a little different out in the professional world. But now, as we were saying about working with students and trying to build that relationship on the back end so that my students now have hopefully me or someone on campus who they can go to be that go-to person. That's what the experience is all about. That's what college is all about, right? Isn't that what it's all about? So, all right. So as we are starting to run short on time, I would like to give everybody a chance to give your sort of final thoughts, anything that you want to share from, something you're looking forward to, something you're excited about, whatever final thoughts you may have about the upcoming year. I suppose we'll go broad. Ron, I'll start down the other end this time.
Okay. Well, I think just thinking about, since we're on the theme of conferences, I won't plug my own. Instead, I'll just say, those coming. It's not coming. I would say that it's really important I know that coming to events like this, right, like HighEdWeb or some of the other conferences that exist out there. In Penn State, we do HighEd Live there as well. Coming to any event like that, engaging with folks, if you don't do it but one time in your entire career, I would encourage you to take the opportunity. If you're going to bribe somebody, if you have to sell cookies, like whatever you have to do to get out of the house to do those couple of days, it will change your career, because the opportunity to meet with people, to engage with folks who are doing what you do, especially if you're toiling away in an office and you're the only one, or there's one other person, you feel like nobody gets what I do and nobody understands what I'm doing. Yep. This is a message where if you're watching this, clearly it probably isn't for you, but you have a friend or somebody else who it might be for, right? You let those folks know, like, hey, you should go to this thing. Or if you always wanted to go to a conference and you're like, oh, I'm not so sure about it. I'm telling you, it really will do you some good. I know if you're introverted, trust me, I'm as introverted as you wouldn't believe, but it will truly
that's why we put them on the internet.
Truly change your career. So that's my future takeaway is get out and do something. It'll seriously make everything better for you.
Yeah, and definitely don't be afraid to do that. I mean, I distinctly remember my first HighEdWeb 2 years ago, showing up and not expecting people to know who I was. Because, I'm on Twitter, but like the people who I was meeting are like on Twitter, like they're internet celebrities to me. And to walk up to somebody and before I'm able to say, hey, you're an internet celebrity, they're like, oh, Chris, I know you. It's like, wait, what? So that those things happen at conferences. That's what getting out of the office is all about.
Absolutely.
Final thought, Emma.
To add to that, just to both those thoughts, getting to know people off of Twitter. Like you follow them on Twitter, you kind of got this idea of who they are. And I had an interaction with someone in the elevator the other day. I was like, oh, I think I follow you. And she's like, yeah, I think I follow you too. And it was kind of cool just to like finally like meet person to person, and to take those moving forward, just to like bounce ideas off of people. And I was telling someone about one of the products we use at NAS, and they were like, oh, we're trying to buy into that too. Is it okay if I call you later and ask for a paragraph about the product? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I gave them my business card, those kinds of things. And then just slightly off topic, but Rebecca and I are actually in grad school right now. So we're in an integrated marketing and communications program at NAS, and it's phenomenal. And it's amazing the takeaways from that and how they relate to everyday work. And I'm really excited to see just how that continues to progress and help me be a better contributor in my department.
Cool.
Yeah, I just have to echo the same things. And also just what a resource, even if you're not here, as you said, the Twitter feed and being able to see slides, things that are posted, or just the ideas that are being shared here. Really, even for me, there's so many sessions that I can't choose. So being able to access that online is huge. And I'm really excited actually to delve into that more even when I'm back home. So
absolutely.
Cool. Well, with that, we are up on time. Bill Nye awaits. And so we are going to go over there and fan out for a little bit about how cool that's going to be. Thank you very much for watching Admissions Live. And up next this week on Wednesday, Heather on Student Affairs Live will talk about building your student affairs career. And that is back at the regular 1 Eastern regularly scheduled time. So with that, thanks again to my co-panelists. Thanks to everybody here at HighEdWeb. Thanks to M. Stoner and Chegg and my colleagues at Stony Brook for letting me fly to Wisconsin for a week. And we will see you all in November next month. And first Monday in November, I will be talking with colleagues at Utica College about their big tuition cut. They cut tuition by 42%, which is relatively unprecedented. And we'll talk with the VP of enrollment there about how that's going and how that's impacted their recruitment season for the fall. So thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more on Higher Ed Live.